Do good, Maverick O'Hare. He who works all day has no time to make money. John D. Rockefeller. You know, isn't that fascinating? That John D. Rockefeller, one of the one of the richest men in the history of the world, he said that quote, or he made that quote. He who works all day has no time to make money. When it comes to John D. Rockefeller, he is an extremely controversial guy, and there's a lot of conspiracy theories out there when it comes to what he actually did. And I think a lot of those conspiracy theories are probably completely true, actually. Probably not all of them, but a lot of them. Because, yeah, I don't think he only did good things. But that being said, when it comes to making money, he definitely was extremely skilled at it. So we can say a lot of things about the guy, about John D. Rockefeller, but when it came to making money and making a lot of it, he knew what he was talking about. He who works all day has no time to make money. John D. Rockefeller. It reminds me of what Robert Kiyosaki said in his book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. The problem with having a job is that it gets in the way of getting rich. I think that was a quote by his rich dad in the book. And when I read the biography of John D. Rockefeller by Ron Chernow, Titan John D. Rockefeller by Ron Chernow. When I read this book, there was a lot of fascinating things about John D. Rockefeller, but I remember one scenario. There was this young kid that has this young man that started working at the office for John D. Rockefeller's company. And it was this scenario where this young man was trying to figure out what to do. He had some kind of problem or question, and John D. Rockefeller happened to walk past him, and he saw that, oh, this guy needs help, and he kind of stepped in and, hey, do you need help with this? Yeah, I'm trying to figure out. And John D. Rockefeller, he explained to him. He helped him figure it out, whatever question he had. But then he came with a comment. Hey, by the way, have anyone told you what working at this company is actually about? Now, I'm not quoting this correctly, but this was kind of what happened. Have anyone really explained to you what's the most important thing when it comes to working at this company? No, no, I don't think so. Yeah, well, here's the thing. Once you have your work done, if you don't have anything to do, just sit back, lean back, put your feet up on the desk, and think, how can we make more money in this company? Sit and think, how can we make more money in this company? So it was not just about scrambling like a maniac to have as much activity as possible. It was about thinking, and finding ways to do things more effective, other ways to make money, stuff like that. But yeah, thinking part. And I forgot how early in his career this was, because I also heard another story. It also talked about some of it in the book as well. John D. Rockefeller himself, he worked like crazy. And he worked, I'm not sure how long days it was. I think it was maybe something like 12 to 15-hour days. But the thing is, it was also work with a lot of stress, an extreme amount of stress. At the time, I think he was the richest man in the world. But yeah, he was so stressed out that he got this disease. I think it was called alopecia. I'm not really sure. But he lost the hair on all of his body. The hair on his head, the eyebrows, eyelids, all the hair of his body. He lost it because he was under so tremendous amounts of stress that he basically got ill. It made him sick. And he, at a point, I think he said something like that all the money in the world was not worth it when you didn't have your health, something like that. But an interesting thing, it was Ty Lopez that pointed this out, that while John D. Rockefeller, I think he was the number one richest guy in the world, and he worked like 10 to 15-hour days almost constantly, and was under tremendous amounts of stress to the point of getting sick and losing the hair on all of his body. But the second richest guy in the world at the time, I think he was the second richest guy, it was Andrew Carnegie. And he had a quote about, I think his concept was I think it was 2 hours per day. He had this concept that if you're running a company and working more than 2 hours per day, you are doing something wrong. And it was this guy was saying this. How long ago is this? Like 100, about 100 years ago, 150 maybe. If you're working more than 2 hours per day while running a company, you're doing something wrong. I think it was 2 hours. But yeah, that was Andrew Carnegie. So that big of a difference between the number one guy and number two guy. But when he made this quote about he who works all day has no time to make money. When in his life he made this quote, I'm not sure. Because here's another fascinating thing about John D. Rockefeller. He made the most amount of money after he retired. That was really fascinating. He used to work like crazy. And then he retired. He kind of got hooked on playing golf. He played golf a lot. He was really what should I call it? Really kind of obsessed about health, eating healthy, getting enough sleep. When he was traveling, he used to travel with his personal doctor following his family around. He was really obsessed about health and fitness, that kind of stuff. But yeah, after he retired, he kind of gradually handed the company over to his son and a team that was running things. And John D. Rockefeller retired. After he retired, he made a lot more money than before he retired. Of course that doesn't mean that yeah, if you want to make more money, just retire. Of course not, but you can still kind of ask yourself why. Why did he make more money after he retired? Of course, he had already built a super successful company, making millions and millions of dollars, putting him in a unique position to make a bunch of investments and stuff. But at the same time, if he did not retire, would he have made those investments? Would he have had the time to get the big picture in mind, hire people to do things, hire people to help find these investments, run these things? Would he have been doing all those investments, or would he kind of have been trapped into the company where he spent like 10 to 15 hours a day working like crazy and kind of have all of these investment opportunities kind of pass him by. It's interesting to think about. So sometimes the solution is not just to work more. When it comes to making money online, there's a lot of online marketers and millionaires talking about you need to hustle. You need to hustle like crazy. And if you don't do it, you are stupid. No, is that really how simple it is? Just work very hard all the time. You will be super successful. And if you're not successful, it's because you are lazy and stupid. That's not the way it is. People, once they make a bunch of money, they tend to become a bit arrogant. Some of them become very arrogant. And it's also a difference between causation and correlation. They think maybe a lot of people that make a lot of money, they think, for example, they might think there is 5 main reasons why they made all this money. And when they want to teach you, they are naming these 5 things. But maybe it was not those 5 things that made them successful. Maybe it was 10 things. And maybe only 2 of the things they are mentioning themselves was actually important. Maybe 3 of the things they think was the reason for their success. They became successful in spite of those 3 things, not because of them. It was a correlation. It was a correlation that they did those things, but it was not the causation. Causation versus correlation. So there's a lot of people misunderstanding things and kind of making up recipes for things without all of those things in the recipe actually being the most important things. So yeah, sometimes sometimes you need to step back and think through what you're going to do. Sometimes doing less can help you get more of the results you want. Another interesting example, a real estate investor, or he was focusing on hotels here in Norway. His wife got sick, so he had to step back from the CEO position of running his hotel empire. He had to step back, get another guy to run the hotels because he decided to spend time with his wife. He had to fly her to a different part of the world where they had some kind of special treatments, and he was spending time with her in that part of the world, so he couldn't be in Norway to run his big hotel empire, his hotel chain. But what happened was that while he was spending time as not being the CEO, he was spending a time away from the company with his wife. The company did better than ever. The company actually did better when he was not in the CEO position than when he was there. Despite him being a brilliant guy, he built the hotel chain, the empire. So he's definitely a super skilled guy. But why did it do better when he stepped back? It's kind of interesting to think about because the guy running it, was he better than him? I actually don't think so. I think oftentimes people become bottlenecks. I've heard Tim Ferriss talk about the same thing, that when people are running companies, as companies grow, they reach a certain level, and then the leader or the CEO, he becomes kind of like a bottleneck that is kind of hindering growth or hindering things from happening because of the way the whole interactions and things are structured. But once he steps back, maybe get someone else to take the CEO position, and they make a better system for things, that kind of bottleneck is removed. But of course, it varies from company to company. But sometimes people stepping back is helping the growth. I guess a big part of it is that when they are stepping back, they can't be there to put out fires all the time. So they need some kind of proper systems for things. So when they're actually stepping back, and if someone new is going to step in, that they don't have the same amount of skills as the first guy, then they kind of have to have systems and maybe different positions. Maybe they have to hire like 5 guys to do the job that one guy did and restructure things. And if they do it correctly, it can result in more growth and better numbers. Interesting stuff. And you kind of you can kind of extrapolate this quote out un until the bigger picture as well. He who works all day has no time to make money. John D. Rockefeller. He who works all day has no time to make money. So if you work, you can kind of take that as for normal employees as well. If you're working all day, maybe you're working 8-hour days, but you're also working overtime. So let's say you're working 12-hour days. And if you do that over an extended period, it might actually be the case that you're working all day, but you have no time to make money. Of course, you're going to work to make money, so you're making money that way. But maybe you don't have time to make the big money, because maybe you should be reading 5 books and launching an online business, going on podcasts and be interviewed, creating and posting content yourself, doing outreach, connecting with other people in the same industry, learning from them, asking other successful ones what they did, what you should be doing different, stuff like that. But if you're working all day as an employee, maybe you don't have time to do something else that can make you even more money. Or maybe you're working all day and you want to invest in rental real estate, whatever it is. If you're working all day, maybe it's actually hindering you from some things as well, especially if it's done over long periods of time. You know, there's been periods where I've been working 12-hour shifts. Usually, when I've been working 12-hour shifts as an employee, has been kind of shifts where I'm working a period and then you have a few days off and stuff like that. But during those days, when it is 12-hour shifts, it's actually a lot more, because if you're going to be at work for 12 hours, you have to get up in the morning, drive to work or get to work, and then you are at work for 12 hours. And after work, then you have to get in the car, drive back home, stuff like that. And it actually ends up being more like 14 hours than 12 hours. So yeah. I'm not promoting idleness here. Laziness is bad. Hard work is good. Just to be clear on that. That being said, there really is something about stepping back, look at the big picture, don't miss the forest for the trees, having an overview of things, ideas, strategy, stuff like that. Yeah. He who works all day has no time to make money. Interesting. I'm just thinking when it comes to that quote, I guess that applies to business models as well. I'm just thinking, how much does the business model affect this? I think that if you're building a business that is easier to manage, a business that is easier to automate and have running, kind of like a cash cow, that a business that can be run by as generating semi-passive income, for example, like a paid community. A paid community, there are people out there that is working all that is only working like 4 hours per week, even less than 4 hours per week, to 15 hours per week or less, and they're making 5 figures or more in profit per month. I've interviewed several of them, so it is possible. I've interviewed several of them. One, did they really work less than 15 hours per week? One of the guys, he worked less than 4 hours per week. Another guy, I think he said he worked less than 4 hours per day, or maximum 2 to 4 hours per day, something like that. And a lady, I interviewed, she made like at least 6 figures in profit per month. And she had a concept she called 2 hours of money making activities in the morning. What's that? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. Yeah, that's like 14 hours per week. She said she had to work those 2 hours in the morning on the money making activities. That was all she had to do. Then she didn't have to work more. But she almost always used to work more than that, engaging in the community, stuff like that. So yeah, it's possible. But yeah, when it comes to a business model like that, I'm just thinking maybe that also makes it easier to keep the big picture in mind and to grow it. Let's say if you only have to work 4 to 15 hours per week, but you decide to work 40 to 60 hours per week, then I guess since the business is that kind of easy to manage, you don't have to put out fires all the time. You can kind of step back. Okay, what's really most important here? What can I do to grow this thing? What can I do to make it take off? What can I do to grow the sales, optimize things? How can I get less churn, get more members? How can I get paid ads to work? Can I get on podcast interviews? Can I do some kind of virtual event? Can I recruit affiliates? You can kind of step back and think about these things. And since the company is since the business is already working, you don't have to do super urgent matters that no fires you need to put out. Then it's easier to step back and think about these things and actually do them. Interesting to think about. Of course, there is a massive difference between doing urgent things that needs to be done right now and doing important things that might be not urgent, but have a vastly bigger impact when it comes to growing and taking things to the next level. Anyway, that's just something to think about. By the way, if you want to learn from real life success stories, the dream of freedom is possible. How can I say that without being an expert? I've interviewed several of them. Things are happening. If you want to learn from these real life success stories, people that are making at least $10,000 profit per month by running a paid community, check out communitycashcows.com. Communitycashcows.com.